Hi guys, it's Jordan here. So I just got back from a jazz class at City Dance Corps. I'm a bit tired, a bit exhausted, but I wanted to bring you guys a Tip Tuesday video on pirouettes since I'm kind of in the mood to record a video on that. So I'm going to give you guys all the tips that I have, kind of break down things as simple as I can make them, and we're going to start from the floor at your feet and work our way up to your neck, your head. Okay. So we're going to start with your supporting leg on your supporting foot. You want to have your weight digging into the floor, and you want to have your weight sort of between your first three toes. So your big toe, the toe beside it, and then the toe beside it heading towards your pinky toe. And those are the toes that you want to have your weight on. You want the weight on the ball of your foot digging into the floor. And then your pinky toe might even float off the ground, and same with the toe beside it. Those don't even need to be on the floor. You don't need to think about them. Just think of digging all of the weight into the ball of your foot at your big toe. Those first three toes, that's it. Then you're going to want to think of there being like a nail underneath your heels so that you keep your heel up in your releve as high as you possibly can. So you don't ever want to have your foot drop, and that's going to be a lot of work at first if you're new to doing pirouettes, but you can practice just like standing on tippy toes, like on rise, on the ball of your foot, and just work on that and try and get higher and higher and higher every day. And yeah, when you're turning, try and imagine that there is a nail there that you don't want to drop onto, because it's going to stab your foot and it's going to hurt, and then it'll scare you into keeping your heel up and staying in your elevate. So working up from there, you want your ankle to be aligned directly on top of the ball of your foot and those three toes. Now, if you, for example, if your ankle is going to be on top of not those three toes, if it's on top of your pinky toe and your other toe, your ankle is going to be sickled, which is not strong, and that's not going to help you turn. You want your ankle centered right on top of the ball of your foot and those first three toes. And then heading up, you want to think of, we're talking about classical pirouettes today, so you want to think of your entire leg and everything turning out. It's going to be cranking out from the major trochanters at your hips all the way out, all the way down to the bottom of your foot. So you can think of that, and you want your lean calves even trying to think of turning outwards. It's more of just the visualization than anything. Then as we make our way up to the knee, you want the back of your knee to be locked. So your knees are going to be completely straight, your kneecaps are going to be lifted, everything's just going to be nice and strong, and that's going to provide you the best way to turn. And if your supporting leg is nice and strong and your knee is completely locked, then you're going to be able to turn around gracefully, as opposed to if you bend your knee, which is meaning that you're cheating. And it's a hard habit to overcome. So try and make sure that you always practice with that knee locked and your legs straight. And then moving up from there, we have your inner thighs, which should be facing forward. And in order to work in that maximum turnout, which is the most painful and the strongest position to work in though, you need to be using all of your muscles to turn your legs out like that from the major trochanter. So as we head our way up, we'll find your hip bones. And now, as you may have heard before, you want to have your hips parallel to the ground when you're turning. And that is your proper ballet posture. So I want you to picture having like suspenders. If you see the clowns that have their suspenders attached to like the hula hoop pants, and so their hips kind of just float there, it just floats at parallel. So think of always having a string, like two strings attached to your hip bones, the corner of your hip bones, at the front, or like some suspenders, and they're pulling up. Visualize those hip bones pulling up. You don't want to tuck your butt in order to achieve that parallel position. You want your legs strong, and you want strong turning out muscles all the way up to the top of your glutes, including your butt. But you don't want to tuck your butt under in order to get that parallel feeling. You want to pull up on your hips. Now we're at your stomach. Oh, actually, first let's talk about where your foot is at passe. So there's a million different variations of pirouettes. Today we're going to be talking about having your toe at passe right beside your knee. So there's a little pocket there beside your knee, and that's where I want your toe to go. So right from the foot of your working leg, I want you to think of winging out your foot. So to wing out your foot, it just means to go like this. It's like you pull on your pinky toe outwards a little bit with your foot. So it's like, think of pointing your foot and then flexing it a tiny bit so that it's pulling outwards. And this is to make sure that you get a full stretch through your foot. And most people don't take the time to think about this, but it's really important because it's the difference between, it can be the difference between your turns just being like spot, 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 or having that extra turnout all the way down to the bottom of your toe, which is through the winging of the foot. You'll get that graceful, which is what you want in your classical pirouettes. And then you want your knee of that working leg pulling out as far as it possibly can. In a pirouette, you want everything to be like as much opposing force as possible. So everything is pulling in different directions in order to keep that beautiful aerodynamic to your spin. Now, working up to the hip on your working leg, you want to think of pulling your knee out and pulling outwards through your hip joint. So you want that to be working in full turnout so that you have like 180 degrees flat from the inside of your knee all the way to your passe. Everything you want to be seeing the inside of your thighs and all of those muscles working to turn out. And then in order to have that graceful flow, you want to be literally pulling from your knee outwards so that your major trochanter is literally pulling apart from your hip socket. And that is a lot of work, but when you work on that, that's what gives you those strong, graceful pirouettes, is working in your maximum turnout. Now, moving upwards, we're going to be going to your lower abdominals. Your lower abdominals should always be engaged in your turn, and that's going to happen by thinking of pulling up on your hip bones. You're immediately going to engage those lower abdominals. Now, most people think of, or some people may think of the sucking in, or like trying to keep everything really, really tight in their abdominals. This actually can hinder your turn. You want to be able to still breathe freely while you're turning, but still be able to engage those muscles. So don't think of tensing everything up, but think of just engaging and using those muscles. So as we make our way up, or actually let's go from on the back side now. So from your lower abdominals, now on the back, you don't want to have your lower back sinking in or like a scoliosis spine. You want to think of it being mostly straight. Your lower back should have a tiny, tiny curve, but you don't want your hips dropping forward. You need your hips to be lifting up. So you need everything to be strong and straight. Now back to your front with your ribs. You're going to not want your ribs splaying out like this, because that means that your back is arched. You want your ribs in the front to be closed and tight all the way up to the top where it meets your sternum. Now, if we go to your back, you want to think of your back being completely straight. So other than that tiny little curve in your lower back, the rest of your back you want straight and strong. So now we're at your chest. We want this up. So you want to lift up your boobies. Or like if you're a guy, this part of your chest, I want to see this. Think these little bones here to be lifted and pointing up. And it may feel like stuck up or prude at first, but that's what you need to be able to be a strong turner. So now we're going to think of your arms. So I remember saying about how everything needs to be opposing forces and really, really strong. Now if you think of your arms pulling out as far as they possibly can, that's going to engage these bicep muscles. And those are the same muscles that you want to have engaged when you're using your arms. So you want to think of not so much, like you've probably heard for good posture to roll your shoulders up, back, and down and squeeze, and that's your proper posture. But what I actually want you to do is go up, back, and down, and then think of there being a string on the edge of your shoulder here, and the edge of shoulder, and pulling out. Because it's going to actually hinder your turns if you're just stiff like that. With up, back, down, and stiff. You want up, back, down, and pulling out. Everything moving out. Now, for your arm position, you're going to you don't want this. I see this all the time. It's like you're engaging all of this and making this all strong, but then you're actually rolling in your shoulders. You need to pull outwards, and that's what will keep your shoulders flat and straight. And you need to think of this all going down, like try and relax all of these muscles down as opposed to up. You want to be showing your sternum, you want your sternum to be up, but you want all of these to be pulling down, not like up, like that, if you understand what I mean. Now your neck, you want to think of not so much like stiff, flat neck, but think of there being a string right here at the very top of the crown of your head, or even attached to the tips of your ears, that's pulling up. It's always pulling up. You can pull up on your ears, you can pull up on the back of your head. All this needs to be up, and that force needs to be just as strong pulling up, opposing the force of the ball of your foot digging into the floor. You need that opposition in order to turn, and like a top. And what other tips can I give you guys? For spotting, if you're turning to the right, try and think of using your left eye to spot. You're going to turn and leave your left eye there as long as you possibly can and then return. And then if you're turning to the left, think of using your right eye to spot. You're going to leave your right eye there as long as possible before you turn around. And that will help you keep your eye on the spot instead of just whipping your head. With your arms, you don't want your arm behind you. You always want it to be in front of you so it's strong and you feel your shoulder girdle all strong. You want this arm never moves. So this arm's not going to lead your turn like this. You want that arm to stay in a nice first position, and this arm just forces, like that brings the momentum to your turn. So it's just going to be swing catch. Now let's talk about arm positioning. If you are a girl, you can bring your arms, I'll stand up for this, bring your arms to your belly button, your hands to your belly button, and then come out. And you don't need to have much space in between your hands, like maybe another palm space in between your arms. You want this to all be round and straight. I don't want anything like this, and I don't want like over hyperextended elbows, but I want that to be like round and straight like an egg. Your thumbs should be tucked in, and then your hands like relaxed, but you need to feel like there's weight, like if somebody put like a rock or something in your hand, or an egg, so it's pulling down so that you feel that all engaged all the way down to like your palm. There needs to be energy in your hands, they can't just be dead. Now for a girl, you can have your arms there at your belly button and just open there. For a boy, you're going to actually want them a little bit lower, like think of really pulling down, like really heavy rocks in your hands, and you can open your arms a bit more, and that will just be a more sturdy position to turn from for you. When you're going around, like if you're doing a single turn, you only want to have enough momentum, like just enough pull to get you around once. So you can swing around once, stop on a dime, and you want to be able to hold it in releve, hold that position facing forward, and then relax into your plie. Now, that being said, if you want to do multiple turns, you just need to adjust accordingly, and that comes with practice to see how much momentum you're going to need to actually do multiple turns. And now positioning, turns can really start from any position. Try doing them from the hardest position for you. Like you can do them from 4th position, 5th position, a 4th position lunge, 2nd position. I find 2nd position, doing pirouettes from 2nd position is really hard. You are in a deep plie, and then you have to snap all the way up and be really, really strong on your supporting leg. So that's a good one to practice in, and make sure that everything's working and everything is strong, and then you'll feel confident and secure in your pirouettes. So, if there's anything that I missed, or anything that you like to think of that helps you turn, or anything like that, make sure to comment below and I'll check it out. Give this video a thumbs up if it helped you. Share with any of your friends if you think this might be useful. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you very much, and thanks for watching. Jordan J. Sparks of Sparks Official. Bye.